What is the review that you would like to look at today? So this is the main episode, and then we do our little review episode, which is just a few minutes. And you are refreshingly cheap compared to Brian Johnson right now. So and I don't mean cheap, I mean good value.
Yeah.
So what's your review?
I would say, here's the thing. If I would invest in anything, and of course, I'm not per se cheap in my work with clients, right? Because they have to invest in themselves to do the work, and you know that as well. And we all have to have enough skin in the game to actually show up for ourselves and do the work. My review is that there's a lot of beautiful tools, and I use them. But if you're struggling, aside from the free writing and moving your body and getting outside and seeing sunshine, right? As we were talking about, unless you're in England, that's very hard. I would invest in something that walks you through how to harness capacity within yourself
Mm,
to heal and address. And then all those tools outside of you become an asset that is proactive instead of trying to bring them in reactively because you have so much stress that you're trying to combat or overcome.
So what do you mean? Do you mean therapy, or do you mean an expert, or what do you mean exactly?
So obviously, there's lots of people. You have a process, right? That you teach people. I have a process I teach people. We all align with different needs. I'm saying for the people who are like, you know what? I'm doing all the things. I've been doing cold plunge and I've been doing sauna and I've got my nutty pudding and I'm drinking all the water and the electrolytes and like everything's on board. I'm working out. Why do I still feel this way?
Mm,
And that could be physically, mentally, or emotionally. And
mm,
it's not just the route of traditional therapy. There are so many people out there that have stories you align with who figured out, right? So for me, I create bioemotional healing. For you, you have tapping that really allowed you to create that. And it's where people align and say, okay, where can I find someone that I align with that has maybe lived a similar experience and helps people? And why don't I learn what they did
mm.
and learn from them and actually use it? Because the reason why I say go to a specific source is also the challenge today with the amount of information that's out there.
Yeah.
We have equated learning with doing something.
Mm,
Because I can always listen to a new podcast, a new audiobook, a new
mm,
YouTube video, Instagram reel, and I'm learning, but the real gap is between learning and actually doing. And the brain
mm.
actually helps sabotage us of like, well, let's just go learn something. Because we know you can't really change the brain or the nervous system without implementation of something new. That's how the brain learns something new to change. So when you commit to like a process, I'm going to do this and not just keep learning, but actually follow something that gives me a plan to shift this within myself, that's when change really actually starts to happen.
Mm. Yeah, there's a process. My sort of background is that I trained as an NLP practitioner 20 years ago, and then NLP master practitioner and trainer, and now I've sort of written a book on NLP. And one of the real basic but effective techniques in NLP is just called modeling, which is
Mm.
really at every stage modeling other people's behavior. And then when you look at the sort of behavior and environment and capabilities, that can be quite powerful. But then
Mm-hmm.
when you start to model their identity and their values and beliefs, and you cherry pick the best bits and maybe that apply them to your own life, or maybe not, you're just learning, that can be really very powerful. And I sort of feel like there's something similar to what you're saying there.
Yeah. So if I'm going to just commit myself to learning and implementing this
Mm,
versus I'm going to learn from them and them and them and them. And then the brain gets so overwhelmed of like,
mm,
where do I start? What do I do? And we actually don't implement something long enough to actually
got it.
feel those changes.
Got it. Got
And
it.
that's
Got
where
it.
I'm
Yeah.
saying find something that you
Mm,
align with. They've lived a similar experience. They speak to you, your personality, what you're seeking, and give it full commitment. And
yeah.
then see the change. It's like people in the most basic sense who have been working out for a long time, but they don't have effective workouts or they don't
Mm,
know how to eat. And then they finally commit to getting a trainer. that guides them through specific workouts, gives them the way to eat, and they actually commit to it. And suddenly their body starts to change.
Mm.
And that's what I mean with an internal job or what we're seeking to change. Find something to commit to. If you already have all these things in line and you're not seeing the changes you want, you have all the tools, all the modalities, commit to actually implementing an action plan so that you can give your brain and your nervous system and your body the actual chance to change.
Good stuff. Ashleigh, it's really lovely to talk to you. Thank you so much for coming on Biohacking News. Really appreciate it. Where can people find out everything that you're doing and working on, and obviously your amazing Instagram channel as well?
Absolutely. So there's my Instagram, my name, Ashleigh Di Lello. My website is my name as well, ashleighdilello.com. That's where you can hear more about bioemotional healing, my work. There's a free training on the brain. There's a free brain body blueprint that automatically gives you a 3-step action plan to start interrupting your programmed stress responses. So we break it
Mm.
down to where it's not so complex. And then my podcast, which has been on a break but will be coming back, is the Bioemotional Healing Podcast, which I got to get you on, Tony, when I
I'd
bring
love
it
to
back
come on.
this fall.
Yeah, yeah. Because when I first went to see that tapping guy, I mean, he was also an expert in chronic illness, and he did. It sounds to me something a little bit similar to what you do. And he said, look, you're going to be interrupting that pattern, and when you
Absolutely.
start doing it, you're going to be surprised at how often you do it. And honestly, I swear to God, I was doing it multiple times a minute. I was like so obsessed with my health because I couldn't get better. I was
Mhm.
like every few moments, I was like, stop. And then I was like repeating what he said to me
Yeah.
and then carrying on. And then, of course, I trained a new pattern quite quickly afterwards.
The brain is amazing. It just as it's adaptive to stress responses and
Mm,
health challenges and mental health challenges, it's also adaptive to changing that. If we're consistent and give it the time to do so, then
yeah,
it can be incredibly adaptive to reclaiming health again.
yeah. Well, I am really excited to connect more. Yeah, I'd love to come on your podcast. And thanks
Fantastic.
so much for coming on Biohacking News.
Thanks for having me.